Hey guys, it's Tarek with Cyclone FPV, and I'm going to put a quick video together as part of our Drone for Beginners series. And this one's going to be on beta flight, and what I'm working on right now is one of our new Revelation, the U85, the real tiny one. And it's kind of like the I85, which is the inverted version, but this is the U85, but it is using the HTLRC stack, the F413. Which features the F4V2 flight controller. So what we're going to do is go to beta flight and set this up, and hopefully some of this will help you figure out some of the issues you may be having. We're going to cover real quickly some resource mapping, and going to see if we can get some things fixed here, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to switch and put a screen here, and that's going to show our beta flight setup right here. And let me just go ahead and make this a large screen. There we go. All right. So what I've done right now is I've just flashed the firmware, and I know that I know this is using the Omnibus. Let me see. Let me go here and check this out. So we're using the Omnibus F4. And let me just verify something real quick, please. And I will make sure that we've got this set. So let's see. All right, so we're using the Omnibus F4. And on the website, if I was going to try to bring over the website here real quick. Let me see if I can do that. I have to minimize the screen 1 second, but I know I've put some of the resources now on our website, and I am trying. Let me see if I can minimize this. There we go. Okay, so let me bring this browser over real quick, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So if you were to search for the let's say the F413, right? And we're going to search for that real quick, and then this is the board that we're using. Okay, so I'm going to click on that real quick and show you. And then what I've started doing on these is putting a video and tutorials tab. And, oh, there I am, my ugly face right there. Okay, let me see. I thought that I had this part on here, but I guess not. All right, so what you would want to do first, though, right, is I'm just going to plug in another controller. I've got one right here. So let me unplug the one that I've got, and I want to show you what the proper steps would be. Let me get rid of this browser back over here. And we'll go ahead and increase this real quick. Okay, so when you plug this in, now this was, I think, an RM8 board, so I'm hoping it'll come up at least. Okay, so there it is. So when you want to see your version, right, you'll click Connect, and you'll go to your CLI, and you'll just type version, and you're going to see it's the Omnibus F4. Okay, so what I did is I'm going to disconnect this one now, and what I did is I loaded the Omnibus without F4, and if that bricked this, then I'm gonna show you guys how to get through that. Now that was another video I did, but let's see if this bricked it real quick, and it looks like it did. Okay, so when you brick it, right? So basically what happens is at this point you've got this. Let me just make this screen a little bit bigger. Okay, so you've got this on the. Now this is an RM8 one, so you're gonna see soldering on here, but you're gonna see that little gold button right there, right beside the USB port. And what you're gonna do is when you need to unbrick it, you're going to basically press that button. Now, unfortunately for me, this is the quad I'm working on, right? And so getting to that button, it's actually right here. It's actually good. I put it in pretty much an easy access spot because I wanted it to be able to be accessible. So let's see, I need to just find a small tool so I can push that. And I think I've got one right here. So what you're going to do is you disconnect your USB, and you press that button down while you plug your USB back in, and that puts it in DFU mode. So let me kind of put the screen back up here now and show you what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be focusing on this area up here where it says manual selection. So I'm going to go ahead and press that button down, and hopefully I can hold all this together while I do this. So bear with me a second. I got to make sure that I get this right. Okay, so I'm going to press the button down. And that's the boot button. Sorry, I'm trying to pin it real quick. Okay, so that's pressed down. Now I'm going to plug the board in, and you see how it just went to DFU? That's perfect. That's how I can unbrick my board. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to select the right firmware. This is the Omnibus F4, and I'm going to select the newest version. And I'm going to click Load Firmware. And then we're going to flash it. Okay, so if you did accidentally ever brick your boards or put the wrong firmware on there, you should be able to get into DFU mode that way. All right, now we're going to let that set up, and then I'm going to show you a few things, and we're going to see if this maybe will help you guys with some of the stuff that you're working on. Okay, so let me get this screen ready. All right, so it's going to flash right now with the updates. Get my coffee? I don't know. Oh, wait, let me go grab my coffee. And I can tell you that because of the way that I adjusted this board and the way that it's angled, it's going to definitely need to be changed in the Betaflight configuration because the board is offset 45 degrees, and you've got to tell the computer that. You've got to tell the flight controller software that. All right, so it's successful now. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. And I have another table I could have done this on where you could have seen the quad, but I'll just hold it in my hands, give you an idea. Okay, so the quad direction, right, is where the camera's facing. So as you can see this right here, the camera's facing you guys, right? But look at this screen there. If I tilt it up, all the angles are wrong. If I go left, it goes backwards. Okay, so the first thing is we have to set our orientation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, and the reason being is, if you can notice, the board is actually facing backwards. It's facing this direction back here, okay? I mean, the arrow is. And so we've taken this board and turned it, let's see, 100, I guess, let me see, it would have been facing this way. So 45, 90, maybe 90 degrees. I don't know. We're going to find out real quickly. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to configuration. And we're going to go to our yaw degrees here, right? And we're going to say, okay, so if the board was like this is how it should have been to be straight. So we're going to turn it, that's 45, that's 90, that's 135. So let's go ahead and just type in 135 and click save and reboot. And we're going to watch the screen, okay? So the board again is facing you. And now, if you look at the quad, back, front, left, and right, okay? And so you want to make sure that you've got your orientation right, okay? And sorry, there's a delay just because this computer's running a little slow right now. But I'm going to place now I'm going to go ahead and place this down. But I do want to show you something else real quick. And that's going to be, well, here, let me just do this. All right, I'm going to place that board down so that I can get started on it now. So the first thing is to do your orientation. Make sure before you do any work on your quad that you are able to tilt it front and back, left and right like normal, and then you know your orientation is right, okay? And to do that again, you just adjust your yaw here. As long as the board's sitting flat and you've just turned it, just adjust the yaw, all right? Now I'm gonna leave some things here, like one shot I'm leaving for sure, because I still like to do, even if I'm running a D-shot system, I still like to do my calibration with my motors, and that way I can detect personally if there's something wrong with the ESC by seeing what numbers are fed back, and I'll show you that in just a minute, okay? So the first thing we're going to do now is we're going to make some adjustments, and I believe on this board, I'm going to do the receiver later, but my main thing is to see where my motors are at. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to go to my motors. I'm going to plug in a LiPo, and in this case, I'm just using a AC to DC converter, so I can just use that instead. And you can hear it start up, right? Okay, now I'm going to take motor 1 and I'm going to try to show you guys this. Even though there's oops, I just disconnected it. Let me plug it back in. Even though there is props on here, I won't be able to show you this way. You know what? Let me grab a LiPo real quick, and that way I can hold it in my hand here. Let me see. Okay, this LiPo doesn't have much charge, but it'll at least serve the purpose, okay? So I want you to pay attention to this, because this is going to tell you what happens when your motors are in the wrong, basically mapped wrong. I keep unplugging this stupid thing. Hold on. Okay. Now, I know I have props on 2 of them, but I'm going to hold this in my hand properly, and we're going to just make sure this works. Okay, so again, because the quad is facing you, you have motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I'm going to spin motor 1, and be very careful, but I'm going to spin motor 1, and I'm going to see which motor turns. Okay, so you can see that motor 4 is turning when motor 1's supposed to be, and you need to make note of that. So you can go onto your computer and you can say, okay, open your notepad. Now I've got a program here that I use, but I'm going to open my notepad here real quick, and you can see I've done this already on another quad. So, nope, not right now. Okay, so we're going to say that motor 1 equals 4, all right? And now we're going to do motor 2. So let's go ahead and spin motor 2 and see which one spins. Okay, motor 2 equals motor 3. So you're going to go down to your notepad, and you're going to, and it could be just a standard Windows notepad. So just put motor 2 equals 3, And these are for your notes, basically, okay? And you're gonna wanna save this file down the road. So then we're gonna go to motor 3. Okay, motor 3 equals 2, which means motor 4 equals 1. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just unplug my LiPo because my VTX is gonna get warm if I don't. Let me unplug this real quick. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go and we're gonna finish what we were typing, which is motor 3 equals 2, which means when I spin motor 3, when I spin, motor 3, motor 2 spins, whoops, that should say 2, and then obviously then what's left is motor 4 equals 1. Okay, now here's where this is important. So while you come over here to your CLI and you type the word resource, okay, and you scroll up to your motors, and what I want you to do is I want you to copy all of this. You're not going to use 5 and 6, so don't mess with those. Copy motors 1 through 4, resource motor 1 through resource motor 4, click copy, go to your notepad, and just go into here and click paste, and there you go. Now, this is how the current configuration is, and we know that when we move motor 1, motor 4 spins, which means this resource right here is designating motor 4, okay? What we want to do is we want to change it. Now, depending on the version of Betaflight, you used to have to type in the following: resource motor 1 none. I still do this because I like to be consistent with all of them. So since all my motors, now I know as versions change, you don't have to do this. You can just type in the new resource, but I'm not going to go that route because, like I said, I like to be consistent with what I know. But I'll explain it to you. So what we're saying right now in this case, and this is a step that you, depending on the version of Betaflight, you don't need to use anymore, but you can still type and it'll work. Basically what you're doing is you're freeing up all the motors right now. The reason you copy and pasted this is because you want the resources as a reference, right? So here's what you're going to do now. I don't know if my screen there, oh no, there it is. Okay, so we want to say, we know that motor 1 spins when we move the motor 4 lever. So motor 4 lever has a resource of AO2 right now. So we want to say, for example, instead of having motor 1 have B00, we want to give it AO2. So we type the following: resource motor 1 AO2. And then we go to the second motor, resource motor 2. And we know that motor 2 spins when we hit motor 3 lever. Motor 3 lever is AO3. So we're going to give AO3 to motor 2. And then resource motor 3. We know motor 3 spins, so we say motor right here. So motor 2 lever spun motor 3, so that's B01. And then resource motor 4, which is the only one left, is going to be the B00. And we know that when we moved motor 1, motor 4 spun, so we want to give it whatever motor 1 had. Okay, now, what matters to me here, and what you're going to have to do, this is what you brought over, so you're not cutting this and pasting this back into Betaflight, and this is your notes. What matters is only this here. You want to release the resource, and you want to reassign it, and then most of all, you want to save it. So make sure you put that in there as well, and now watch what happens. I'm just going to copy my changes in command here, right? So copy, come over here to Betaflight, paste it, and all you're going to see is save. Everything else is kind of scrolled up, but if you use your arrow, actually, it's not going to help you. Let me delete all this and paste it again. Okay, so you're going to see the save key here, but when you hit enter, and you'll see, let me hit enter, and you see how, well, it was quick, but if you go back in the video, now my quad is sitting on a towel here, so it's going to show it's not level, but if you go back now, and you go to your CLI, and you type resource, you should now see that these and your notepad match. So you have motor 1 AO2, and there's your new motor 2 AO3, there's your new one, motor 3 B01, and motor 4 B00. Okay, and we saved it. So what I would do in this case, I would say file, and I would just do a save as, and put it wherever you want. I'm just going to put it on my desktop right now, and I'm going to say Revelation dash U85V1 dash resource assignment. Okay, and once you're done with this, because you'll want this to copy and paste back in the future. So now what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect, because we already saved it. So we're going to disconnect, and it's going to reconnect, and we're going to go back to motors, and I'm going to plug the LiPo back in. Okay, so here goes. Ready? Now all our motors should spin properly. Remember, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead and arm it, and click motor 1, motor 1 is spinning. Okay, motor 2 is spinning. Okay, and then motor 3's got the prop on it in the back here. That spins and motor 4 spins. Okay, so we know we're good. Now what we have is we have a problem with the direction of the motors, right? So motor 1, if you don't, obviously you shouldn't have your props on, but you can put your finger on here and you can tell it's spinning counterclockwise. So that's wrong direction. Motor 2 is, I believe that's going to be, let me see. Motor 2 is spinning clockwise. And then we can look at motor 3 with the prop. Let me try to go slow here. It looks like it's spinning counterclockwise, and motor 4 is spinning counterclockwise. So we only have one motor that looks like it's spinning clockwise. So motor 1 is spinning the wrong direction, motor 4 is spinning the wrong direction, motor 2 is spinning the wrong direction. The only one that's spinning the right direction is motor 3. So now we have to tell the system to change the directions, right? So we're going to disconnect from here. We're going to open our BL Heli, and I believe this is 16-bit BL Heli that we're using. And we know we're on COM20, so go ahead and drop down to COM20 and click connect. Okay? And we want to go ahead and read the setup now. All right, so 1 was in the wrong direction. So the first thing is right-click on 1 to isolate it and change the direction to reversed and click to write your setup. Okay? 2 was spinning the wrong direction. Do that. Right-click on 2, click reversed, right setup. 3 was actually spinning in the right direction. So all we have to do is right-click on 4, reversed, right setup. Okay? Click OK, disconnect. And now we go back. We'll go back to our motors, arm it, and let's see what we've got now. Okay? So we're going to go motor 1. Motor 1 spinning correctly. Motor 2. Motor 2 spinning correctly. Just to verify motor 3. Motor 3 is spinning correctly. And motor 4. Motor 4 spinning correctly. So now what we've done is we've reassigned the resources and we've got the motor spinning correctly. The last thing I'm going to show you in this is why I leave it at 1 shot. And I don't know what these notifications are coming through. I apologize, but let me see if I can get this to show you exactly. So what you do in this case, right, is you disconnect your LiPo, okay, and make sure you definitely don't have props on for this next step because you're actually going to crank this motor up to full speed, but it should not kick on as long as everything is done properly. So I'm just going to put it on the bench here, all right, and you're gonna disconnect from here. Make sure everything is off except you've got your USB plugged in, and now you're going to go ahead and reconnect, okay? And you're going to go to your motors tab, you're going to arm it, and you're going to crank the master all the way up. But please make sure you understand, 1, no props on the quad. Number 2, you have no LiPo plugged in, okay? Now go ahead and add your LiPo. That's the first set of tones. Once you hear those tones and they stop, bring your master all the way down. Okay, so now you're done. So you can go ahead and turn this off, disconnect, and now go back to your Betaflight, or your BL Heli, I mean, reconnect, and what you want to do now is you want to look at, and click your read setup, and you want to look at the differences in the min and max throttle. So you have on motor 1, you have 1012 in 2004, motor 2, you have 1012 2004, motor 3, 1016 2008, and motor 4 1012 in 2000. The gap isn't that bad, so there doesn't seem to be any problems with the ESC, but you need to remember this. The minimum throttle has to be set to the maximum number between the motors, which means you had 1012, 1012, 1016, and 1012, which means all of them are going to become 1016. Okay, so make note of that on your pad. And then on the max throttle, it's going to be set to the minimum, the smallest number between the motors. So here we had 2004, 2004, 2008, and 2000. So you're basically going to set, and now you can click all of them left click so they're all lit up, and you're going to basically set 1012, okay, you're going to go to 1016, and you're going to go to 2000, and you're going to click right setup. All right? And that now sets all of them identical. Okay? That means that all the ESCs are going to be set the same when you go to fly. Now, I have not done the flashing yet. which we can go ahead and do as well. So let me go ahead and do that. So we have one version up. Now, usually I would have done the flashing first, so please understand, I'm only showing you these as steps, but ideally what you should be doing is flash first, then do all the other things. So flash, then calibrate with the max up and down on the throttle, and then go back and set your numbers. So for me, I'm just gonna end up having to do that whole step again, but we'll do it anyway and knock it out, okay? So we're just gonna keep flashing these right now. All right, that's coffee break time. All right, we're almost done. Now look, a good rule of thumb here, guys, and now in this case I can't do it, but I would tell you, make sure that you disconnect your VTX. It's going to overheat, or it's going to heat up sitting here while you do this. If you want to save your VTX, or if it bothers you how hot it's getting, either unplug the wires or do something. If you can't, no problem, but just don't waste any time then. Okay, so we just got done flashing these, right? Everything's got the new version, as you can see here. We're going to click OK. We're going to disconnect. Now, this is important. Once you hear those tones, go ahead and disconnect your LiPo, okay? Because you're going to be starting fresh now. And you're going to go back through the process, and I'm going to do it real quick this time. So I'm going to connect here. I'm going to go to my motors. I'm going to crank the master all the way up so I can do my tuning. Then I'm going to turn my LiPo on. I hear my tones. Okay, so that's done. So now I'm going to turn the motors off, click disconnect, and I'm going to go over to my BL Heli, and I'm going to connect, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to make sure my values. So we've got, you see how it reset them, 1012 and 2004. So we have to go back, and we still have 10, now we have with 1016 and 2000 is still going to be our numbers, okay? So what you're going to do is left click on all of these, and make sure to go to 1016 and 2000 and click write setup, and it's going to write all of them, and you're going to see saying write okay. Now if you individually click them, you're going to see that the numbers are all matched up. Now you do not have to redo your reverse, that keeps it all the same. So we're going to click disconnect. You can close BL Heli, you can connect to your flight controller here, and if you run a test on your motors now, and I'm not going to hold this now, but if you run it, they should all spin nice and smooth at the same, they should all keep the same numbers here, and they should all start at the same time. So that means they're all in sync right now, your ESCs are synchronized, and you're good to go. So that is, let me do this. Okay, so that's a quick tutorial for today. That should hopefully help you guys with getting some of this set up. I will be working on the rest of this for you, but I figured this was another good spot. Please remember though, what you saw me do is not the order to do it in, the second way was, so make sure to flash your firmware first. My recommendation, leave everything in one shot, 125, so that you can at least calibrate. You will notice if there's a huge gap between your ESCs, min and max, so let's say one has 2004 and one has like 1950, well, there's something wrong with the ESC at that point. You may have a damaged ESC. It doesn't matter if it's new. When there's a gap that big, there's definitely a problem there. So when we do D-shot, we don't have that option or that opportunity to do that. So I still like to do one shot just to see, calibrate, make sure my ESCs are good. Once you, but the process would be do your firmware first, then do your calibration, and that would be the part where you go into your motors without the LiPo, crank everything up, then plug the LiPo in, hear the tunes when you take it to the max, and then drop it down to minimum. When the tunes are done playing, turn the motors off, close out, go back into BL Heli, make sure your numbers are close, try to match them up. As long as there's no big gap, then you're good. And then you're going to go and do your resources and everything else. But this video should help you. And the whole time, guys, I had the small props on because I can hold it from the bottom, and I'm very careful with this thing. But again, the rule is don't have props on. I've been cut and almost lost my finger, and there's a lot of other worse stories out there. So just pay attention and hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know. You can always get me at Tarek at CycloneFPV.com. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day and enjoy flying. See ya.